invite you to get comfortable and close your eyes. Let the chair fully support you. Gently breathe. Imagine you are breathing into your heart center. Take another deep breath and let any tension, any worry, or busy thoughts melt into divine peace. Feel yourself relaxing into a deep and quiet place inside. And as you inhale your next inhale, you can say to yourself, I am. And on the exhale, peace. Again, I am peace. Perhaps you can think of or visualize a peaceful place or sound, or a time when you felt deeply at peace. Let your body and mind be centered in peace. Regardless of what's happening in your life or in the world, let yourself be held in this moment by God's peace, the peace that passes all understanding. And as we go into the silence now, whenever busy thoughts come up, let them peacefully float by and bring yourself back to this moment by saying to yourself, I am peace. And we'll have some peaceful stillness for a bit. Gently come back to the room now, remembering this deep well of peace. We can join that peace with others and send it out into the world, bringing all the benefits of peace to people everywhere. And let us especially imagine this peace filling Ukraine and all the people there. We send peace to Europe and Russia and their leaders. We can feel the whole world filling with peace. And as we do, let us come back to our breath and inhale while saying, I am. Exhale, peace. As we move into today's service, we welcome our church family in person and virtually to our celebration service. We know that divine love and peace greets and enfolds everyone today. We bless and are grateful for everyone serving today. Have a blessed day, and so it is.
my whole life searching for a shelter for my soul, an understanding of the greater plan. In these walls I've seen the light of love pure and divine, helps me remember who I really am. In every face it's clear, we're all God's children here, and it feels like home, it feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home, it feels like home, a family that I can call my own. It feels like home. It's a place to share your burden. It's safe to shed a tear, say a prayer and raise your voice in song, where every heart is honored and every path is true. No one's here to judge you right or wrong, and there's no shame, no sin in this place where love begins. And it feels like home, it feels like home. I finally found a place where I belong. It feels like home, it feels like home, a family that I can call my own. It feels like home. Something's calling me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. I feel like I'm walking on marbles, can't still the earth beneath my feet. Is my head in the clouds, my naked legs left dangling? I can feel my heart begin to pound. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. A long dark night, my soul it wanders, can't see the light that moves me. If God is everything and everywhere that I belong, Spirit gently wakes me from my sleep. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. My faith is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. God is calling me, and I'm grateful like I've never been before.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Take a deep breath with me. Close those outer eyes that would speak to us of partiality, of circumstance, of limitation. Let's close those eyes that we might open the very spiritual seeingness of us. That we might open the inner eyes, the enduring eyes, the eyes capable of seeing higher truths, sweeter vistas. In a sense, we close the outer eyes, not that we would turn from the truth, but that we might turn toward a higher truth. We close the outer eyes, not that we might stop seeing, but that we might start. That we might start. Taking another deep breath. Let's begin our time together with the bold and audacious suggestion that the God of our understanding is at hand. The God of our understanding is in the here and in the now, in the same way that it's been in every here and in every now since the beginning of heres and nows. Said another way, let us begin our time together with the bold and audacious claim that the wisdom I seek is as near as my next breath. The sufficiency I seek is as near as my next breath. That the harmony that I intuit is as near as my next breath. Always, always, always life. 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 Not the stuff of entrances and exits, beginnings and endings, but life. Our realization of life is as near as our next breath. To this we say yes then. We are not begging or beseeching for that which is not. We are simply saying a yes with grateful hearts to that which already is. And that is the nature and the potential of the God of our understanding. To this we say yes. To this we say yes. To this we together simply say yes. And so it is. And amen. Good morning, Unity in Lynnwood. What an honor, what a joy, what a privilege, what a pleasure it is to yet again bask in the nobility of you. My name is Dr. Richard Loren Held. I serve as the spiritual director of what I like to call an evolving, unfolding idea of oneness and possibility. How do you like that? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? That mission statement, so short on word, but so very deep in meaning, reads as follows: practical spirituality, welcoming community. And so it is that every week I like to support these few words with one of the statements we developed with your Board of Trustees beginning in late 2014. One of those statements designed to bring it into greater specificity. Today, I offer the first of the 6 statements, and it reads as follows. We offer a metaphysical teaching which encourages regular spiritual practice, including prayer, meditation, affirmation, denial, service, and study. Practical spirituality, it's not just something that happens on a Sunday, you see. If you'd like to pray with someone following the conclusion of our time together, one of Unity in Lynnwood's trained, noble, light-filled prayer chaplains would be happy to support you in that fashion. They will now either wave or stand that you might be able to identify them this morning. And if you are a member of our virtual sanctuary this morning and you would like to pray with someone following the conclusion of this time together, start the process simply by writing prayer at unityinlynnwood.org. Include a working telephone number, preferably your own, and expect a call from an anonymous number shortly after noon. The rest of us will be enjoying coffee today at the dumpsters. Yes, it is the 3rd gloriously sunny Sunday in the Pacific Northwest. What this means to you is that you, should you so choose, are welcome to pass through the Friendship Hall following our time together. Take the beverage of your choice, exit the far doors, and commune with other truly remarkable people. Words of invocation. You're welcome to allow my voice to serve as your own. You're welcome to speak this with me. You are welcome to take a deep breath, to close your eyes and allow it to serve as a solemn prayer. The words of our invocation read thusly: though imaged and named variously, there is a singular and eternal ground of being from which all life emanates and into which all life retreats. We choose to call this ground of being God. By extension, we come to understand that we are spiritual in nature, human in expression, and limitless in potential. We gather today to remember such truths, to celebrate our unity, and to honor all life. We gather to celebrate our unity and to honor all life. I don't know about you. To me, that's enough. That's enough. It took a period of 40 for the earth to be purified. It took a period of 40 for Elijah to escape the evil queen. A period of 40 for the emancipated, enslaved Hebrews to become a unified nation. A period of 40 for Moses to realize those so-called 10 Commandments. It took a period of 40 for David to defeat Goliath. A period of 40 for Jesus to launch his ministry, and so forth. These references to 40, they ultimately number in the hundreds. When Hebrew and Christian scriptures are combined, they total even more when Islamic and other Middle Eastern scriptures are added. So while it's wildly clear that 40 wasn't written as a precise measure by yesterday's writers and mustn't be read as a precise measure by today's readers, are you tired of hearing that yet, by the way? It's also clear that it meant and that it means something pretty notable. Metaphysically speaking, we might say that 40 is the whatever it takes to get from where you are to where you're going. If your journey is an inner journey, 40 might be the whatever it takes to get from a fear orientation to a faith orientation, from a lack consciousness to a sufficiency consciousness, from a concept of self as undeserving to a concept of self as a bad mamma jamma. Just as fine as she can be. Maybe a brick house. Maybe a brick house. She's mighty, mighty, baby. Letting it all hang out. If your journey is an outer journey, 40 then might be the whatever it takes to get from a dysfunctional relationship to a sacred relationship, from an empty bank account to an ample bank account, from a soul-crushing job to a soul-satisfying job, from being a rank beginner at a thing to being a respected master at a thing, from life in Kansas to life in Washington. That one is a little close to home right there. Now, if this seems a strange interpretation to you, I highly recommend and suggest that you revisit week 1 of this particular series. For while there are objective facts in the biblical collection, there are also highly symbolic devices, such as the number 40. Oh, wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be easier if that library could be completely literal or completely allegorical? Wouldn't that be so much easier? Unfortunately, I'm not really here to make it easier for you today. To go high up on a mountain, for example, means something far beyond going up to the mountain. We're not getting geography lessons here. We're learning that it's from the high and holy places in consciousness that the high and holy works tend to arise. We're learning that if you want change in the valleys of life, visit the high and holy places in consciousness first. Meditate. Listen to Chopin. Walk in nature. Say your affirmations. Read the enlightened words of enlightened people. To calm the seas, as another example, means something far beyond calming the seas. Neither are we getting meteorology lessons. To the biblical writers, a sea likely represented something of chaotic earthly life, brimming with threats and dangers. And so it was that in adding Jesus to the traditions of the only Bible he knew, a biblical writer recorded Jesus as having addressed the sea, as having addressed that something of a chaotic earthly life by invoking the name of God as introduced by Moses. A biblical writer recorded Jesus as having addressed threats and dangers by invoking I am. I am. And this highlights the vulnerability of translating Semitic languages. Languages whose individual words lack precision, languages whose individual words can assume a wide array of meanings without a strong commitment to their context. This is how a prayer attributed to Jesus, whether or not it was actually his is another topic. This is how a prayer attributed to Jesus, likely beginning, "O great birther of the cosmos," or something like that, ends up beginning, "Our Father." That Jesus stood on the bow of that boat, looked at the churning sea and said, "It is I," is to put words in his mouth. You understand the power of that moment is that Jesus stood on the bow of that boat, looked at the churning sea, and invoked the name of God as introduced by Moses. I am. He didn't look at threats and dangers and say, "I am special." He looked at threats and dangers and said, "God is present." Those are very different lessons, you understand. A well represented something far more than a well. The restoration of sight represented something far more than the restoration of sight. The healing of untouchable peoples meant something far more than the healing of untouchable peoples. To find oneself in a den with a hungry lion meant something far more than to find oneself in a den with a hungry lion. I don't know about you, but the radical suggestion that one might withdraw one's attention from a lion, from threats and dangers again, and place his attention on God instead. Whew, that speaks to me today. And I'm not currently, nor do I expect to be in a den with a hungry lion anytime soon. It's not about that, you understand. Yet again, we are not getting zoology lessons. So unlike, say, modern journalism that tends to offer meaning that's one-dimensional. Just the facts, ma'am. That was Joe Friday's catchphrase. Just the facts, ma'am. Biblical wisdom tends to offer meaning that's multi-dimensional. To think that a well is just a well, that a healing is just a healing, that a lion is just a lion, that 40 is just 40, is to deprive yourself of the good stuff. It is to make history lessons out of soul lessons. And how sad is that? It's like making figs out of fig Newtons. Why would we ever do that? So metaphysically speaking, we might say that 40 is the whatever it takes to get from where you are to where you're going. Left at that, it's really quite an encouraging idea. Don't you agree? From fear to faith. Oh. From lack to sufficiency. Oh. Nice, right? From the dysfunctional relationship to the sacred relationship, from the soul-crushing job to the soul-satisfying job. Oh, that's sweet. That's the good stuff right there. It's the stuff of inspirational speakers. But when we read these stories more closely, what we notice is that between the where you are and the where you're going, most of our characters find themselves in an experience called the wilderness. Oh, Lord, I see where he's going now. Woo! Not sure I'm liking this anymore. Feeling uncomfortable today. Oh, I think it can be said that this wilderness experience is that place between the comfortable familiarities of yesterday and the unrealized promises of tomorrow. We've walked away from what was, but we haven't yet arrived at what will be. We've left Egypt, but we haven't yet discovered the promised land. And in this moment, I think it really becomes the stuff of spiritual teachers. Now, this wilderness experience, I think it's an important conversation for new thought people. It's an important conversation for new thought people because this wilderness experience is pretty much always uncomfortable. I have to wonder if this is why the emancipated Hebrews of the Moses narrative complained as much as they did. The wilderness experience is pretty much always uncomfortable. And because new thought people tend to have fashioned a God that's in the personal pleasure business, when we find ourselves in a wilderness experience, we tend to find ourselves asking questions such as, why did God abandon me? In other words, if there's no pleasure, clearly there's no God. And in such a paradigm, every loss, every challenge, every surprise, every redirection gives rise to, why did God abandon me? Or maybe even worse, where did I go wrong? Or how am I not doing God right today? And the assumption that a spiritually oriented life immunes one to loss, challenge, surprise, redirection. It seems clear enough to me that all we have to do is look at the lives of our planet's greatest seers, avatars, gurus, Christs, bodhisattvas, shamans. All we have to do is look at the lives of our planet's most awakened souls to realize that this assumption is problematic. Said more clearly, if Jesus wasn't immune to the wilderness experience in his life, what makes you think you are immune to the wilderness experience in yours? This wilderness experience is an important conversation for new thought people because it holds us accountable to our own teaching that there can be no experience where God is not. It holds us accountable to the hypocrisies of, why did God abandon me, as if that's possible, or how am I not doing God right today? And it encourages us toward the possibilities of, well, I wonder what God's up to in this. This wilderness experience is an important conversation for new thought people because it shifts us from the misguided expectation that we'll never suffer another disappointment to the comforting realization that there can be no disappointment that doesn't contribute value to our unfoldment, growth, development. The wilderness experience is an important conversation for new thought people because in my suggestion that even the most positive thinking, unicorn-loving, tree-hugging, patchouli-smelling, hemp-wearing, throat-singing hippie can have a wilderness experience, we might lose a God of pleasure, but what we gain is a God of meaning. We gain a God of meaning. There might be moments lacking in pleasure, but there are no moments lacking in meaning. And the irony is that in this realization, even those moments lacking in pleasure take on a new pleasure. But it's a different kind of pleasure. It was Viktor Frankl who said something very similar, and I quote, "In some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." It seems reasonable enough to me to consider that we might be in a collective wilderness experience even now. That in navigating the demands of a global pandemic against the backdrop of a polarized society, the Unity in Lynnwood community that rode shuttles together and filled seats together and sang songs together, that Unity in Lynnwood community that laughed and clapped and danced and popped cheese cubes and hugged seemingly everyone. Lord, Unity people will hug everyone, that is not our current experience. And yet I imagine you relate to my deep, deep knowing that the Unity in Lynnwood community that is yet to be is still in process. We're not there yet. We haven't arrived. We're not done. We're not destined to spend our next years connecting in Zoom support groups and media chat rooms, are we? It seems reasonable enough to me that we might be in that place between the comfortable familiarities of yesterday and the unrealized promises of tomorrow. I will not ask for a show of hands on that one. And if you're like me, there's a part of you that wants to run as fast as you can toward those unrealized promises of tomorrow. Let's just be done with this mess, might be the battle cry of this aspect of self. And yet, when we study these biblical teaching myths, it seems pretty important to admit that some of the best stuff, here it comes, some of the best stuff is found right in the middle of the wilderness experience. The burning bushes of inspiration are experienced right in the middle of the wilderness experience. The wrestling matches with truth are had right in the middle of the wilderness experience. The egoic temptations of our lowest selves, the temptations of greed and power, ego, accumulation, these temptations are negotiated right in the middle of the wilderness experience. What if Moses had run so fast that he missed his horticultural conversation? What if Jacob had run so fast that he missed his wrestling match? What if Jesus had run so fast that he missed those egoic negotiations? So I have to wonder if at least one message of any wilderness experience is to stop running. If maybe one lesson of any wilderness experience is to stay present, to pay attention, to embrace the what is of life. I've long entertained the amusing visual that when the waters of the Red Sea parted, the escaping Hebrews were so busy looking at their muddy feet that they completely missed the miracle happening all around them. Maybe there are some false beliefs, some lingering limitations that would be challenged by you today. Maybe there's some forgiveness work that would be accomplished by you today. Look around this room. Look around this room and consider the possibility that maybe there are some people who would be loved by you today. And maybe, just maybe, there's still a greater harmony among the family of life that would be contributed by you today. I have to wonder if these aren't early versions of the hero's journey. Check out Joseph Campbell if that term is odd for you. I have to wonder if these aren't early examples of the hero's journey, early examples of what he would call that initiation stage when every hero, whether individually or collectively, when every hero crosses something of a point of no return to accept the challenges which would leave the hero stronger, better, readier to undertake the remainder of the journey. That's what I wonder. A God of pleasure? Maybe not so much. My friends, a God of meaning all day, every day. A God of meaning all day, every day. Take a deep breath with me. Close those outer eyes yet again. Let us be for 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. Let us be with what wisdom would emerge from wilderness experiences to us. Let's allow the very physicality of us to soften, to open. Allowing the temples and the toes and the fingers and the shoulders to rest. What wisdom would the wilderness experience bring to me today? And we watch and we listen. prepare to bring our attention back into this physical space, let us not abandon any sense of elevated beingness. Let it not be exceptional, but allow it to become the lens through which you see. Allow it to inform the tongue with which you will speak. Allow it to be the very consciousness that you will now walk into our world. If you're like me, this gives rise to a sense of gratitude. And so I acknowledge that gratitude. And I carry it forth, and so it is. And amen. It's such a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for being here this morning. If you are new to Unity in Lynnwood, if you are newer to Unity in Lynnwood, we would invite you to visit our welcome and information station. There are endless pieces of paper that you might find enriching. If you are new to Unity in Lynnwood, check out the pocket in the chair in front of you. There you will discover some of the ways in which this community is in eager support of you. Take a deep breath with me, and if you are courageous enough to do so, as we prepare to create a space for any gifts you might choose to leave with us today, I'm going to invite you to look around the room and share gratitude with each other. There are multiple ways to support this ministry. They will appear magically on the screen behind me. There will also be a bowl for any physical gifts you might choose to leave today. Take a deep breath. If you are not courageous enough to do this, please pretend that you are having a shoe malfunction. Oh, I'm being silly. I'd like you to say with me, find the eyes of somebody, and say, thank you for the gift of Unity in Lynnwood. Will you try that with me? Here we go. Thank you for the gift of Unity in Lynnwood. And then if I know you, chances are the eyes you found were eyes that made you comfortable. So now, find the eyes that leave you a little vulnerable and say, thank you for the gift of Unity in Lynnwood.
All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. In sweet surrender, in sweet surrender. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. In sweet surrender, in sweet surrender.
ways to stay connected. We cordially invite you to consider those events and opportunities that appear now on the screen before you. Small group ministry offers a bench. And I think that's important to know, that a bench is available to you. Events such as Students of Myrtle Fillmore being the co-founder of this unity way of thinking. That is a study group based upon her writings. The Search for God study groups based upon the writings and teachings of Edgar Cayce. The Third Act, people whose bodies are at the 60 or greater point. I don't know why we don't have a Fourth Act. Do you know we have Fourth Act people at Unity in Lynnwood? Where's our Fourth Act group? The 90 and above. Get on it. Let's get it going, Fourth Act people. The Skagit Valley Tulip Tour, scheduled for 10 o'clock a.m. on the 26th. Transportation in one of the church shuttles is available on a first-come basis. And good grief. Starting the 24th of March, facilitated by Barbara Thorpe, Marge Hampton, and Nancy Parle. It is our suggestion that in a time of notable change, not just loss, but change, the human creature might be subject to what we would call a grief response. Does this speak to anybody in this room? Consider dropping into that inaugural group twice a month, once early in the day, once late in the day. For those who desire a guiding text, you may visit the gift shop and find a text called Living and Loving Your Way Through Grief. I have now said everything that I had planned to say today. So let me close, as I so often do, by saying that I love you quite a lot. That there is a person who holds a high and noble vision for who and what you've come to be. I want you to know that. I want you to carry that forth. If you would like someone else to stand in that sort of knowing with you, again, visit with a prayer chaplain. It's what they do. And now let's take a deep breath again. We close the outer eyes. And for fun, let's imagine then that we stand on the bow of that boat. That we look out over whatever earthly life might be before us. It will be unique to each of us. We stand on the bow of that boat. And let us follow the example of a noble avatar who counseled us to invoke the name of an infinite possibility as set forth by the great prophet Moses. Let's imagine that we are on the bow of that boat, viewing the seas of our individual experiences. Only to hold them in our view and say, I am. To hold them in our view and to say, I am. To hold them in our view. And together we say, I am, I am, I am. close this time of consideration together as we always do, with sung words of blessing, with sung words of farewell.
May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on, guide